Have you ever noticed how some people start acting differently the moment you stop playing small? When you're quiet, agreeable, and supportive, everything seems fine. You're the listener, the helper, the invisible supporter in the background of their spotlight. They like you when you stay in that role. But the moment you grow, when you set boundaries, when you speak less, step back, or choose not to engage, something shifts. Their tone changes, their warmth fades, and suddenly the person you thought you knew isn't so friendly anymore. This is not you being too much. This is their mask slipping. Carl Jung called it the persona, the social mask we all wear to survive, to be accepted, to belong. But masks need an audience. And when you step back, when you stop playing along, they have no stage left to perform on. That's when you see who people really are. Not the polite version, not the charming, well-behaved, socially scripted version, but the one that surfaces when control is lost, when the performance ends. This video is about that moment. The moment of distance. The moment of silence. The moment when your withdrawal doesn't destroy the relationship, it exposes it. Because sometimes people didn't love you. They loved your role. They loved the version of you that made them feel powerful, important, or validated. But when you step out of that version, when you evolve, detach, or disappear, you stop feeding their persona, and the mask falls. When you begin to step back, not out of anger, not to punish, but simply to preserve your peace, you start to see something unsettling. People who once treated you with warmth suddenly go cold. People who praised you begin to criticize. Those who loved you now act like you betrayed them simply because you stopped showing up the way they expected. Why? Because what they loved wasn't you. It was how you fit into their script. You were the listener who made them feel wise, the supporter who kept them center stage, the reliable one who always responded, stayed available, absorbed their emotions, validated their opinions, and never challenged their illusions. In Jungian terms, they were not relating to you. They were relating to their persona and using you to keep it intact. The persona is the mask we wear to survive society. It's the polished image, the curated self, the social costume. It's not inherently wrong, we all have one. But it becomes dangerous when we mistake it for truth. And even more dangerous when we expect others to protect that illusion for us. You became the mirror that reflected their persona. And when you stopped holding that mirror, when you put it down to focus on your own growth, they saw their real face. And they hated it. Not because you were cruel, not because you abandoned them, but because your withdrawal broke the spell. There's a strange dynamic in many relationships. You don't realize how conditional they are until you evolve. As long as you stay soft, small, and agreeable, you're good. But the moment you start showing strength, clarity, or distance, you're suddenly arrogant, selfish, distant, cold. But are you really? Or are you simply not playing along anymore? You see, the persona thrives on reinforcement. It survives on external agreement. It fears the authentic self because the real self is messy, complicated, and vulnerable. And your presence, your constant cooperation, your emotional labor made their persona feel real. But the authentic self, it doesn't need agreement. It doesn't fear solitude. It welcomes depth over applause. And when you start living from that place, you stop enabling illusions. You stop laughing at fake jokes. You stop giving away your time to be liked. You stop performing politeness for people who don't truly respect you. You stop holding together relationships that only exist because you never said no. And when you do that, when you reclaim your power, people's masks fall fast. Here's what Jung taught us. The persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself, as well as others, think one is. In other words, it's the social illusion of identity. And many people live so deep in their persona that they forget who they are underneath. Until someone stops enabling them. Until someone walks away. Until someone refuses to play the role assigned to them. That someone is you. When you stop playing the part they cast you in, you stop being their reflection. And they are left with themselves. Just themselves. No validation, no applause, no emotional crutch, just their own silence staring back at them. And for some people that's unbearable. So they lash out. Not because you did anything wrong, but because their persona is cracking. And instead of facing themselves, they blame you for taking the mirror away. But here's the deeper truth. Your withdrawal is not betrayal. It's revelation. It's what happens when you choose authenticity over appeasement. It's what happens when you finally realize that peace is more valuable than proximity. It's what happens when you stop buying love with self-sacrifice. You see, we don't always lose people when we grow. Sometimes we just lose the illusion we had of them. And that's a painful gift. Because it frees us. It sets us on the path toward real connection. One built on truth, not roles. Not expectations, not masks. So what do you do when the mask falls? You don't rage. You don't argue. You don't try to fix it. You observe. You step back. You let it reveal. Let the silence speak. Let their behavior unfold. Let their discomfort show you exactly where their love ends and their ego begins. Because not everyone wants a real relationship. Some want reflection. Some want control. Some want obedience. And some want you only when you serve the image they have of themselves. But you are not an accessory to someone's ego. You are not here to protect someone from their own authenticity. You are here to become whole, to grow, to evolve into someone who no longer begs for love through compliance, to stop auditioning for roles in someone else's emotional theater. And when you do, you will lose some people, but you will find yourself. Now that the mask is off, what comes next? You don't retaliate. You don't seek revenge. You don't go back just to soothe their discomfort. You use that moment to redefine what real connection means to you. Because most of us confuse familiarity with authenticity. We think, we've known each other for years, so it must be real. They were always kind to me, so they must care. But kindness shown to your persona is not love for yourself. And the longer you stay in relationships where you have to perform, the more you abandon your own depth. So what does a relationship rooted in authenticity look like? It looks like 1. Space to disagree. Real connection doesn't crumble when you say no. It doesn't guilt you when you need silence. It doesn't punish you for being different. Instead, it invites honesty. It welcomes discomfort. It values truth over control. 2. No need to perform. You don't have to be charming all the time. You don't have to smile when you're tired. You don't have to pretend to be okay just to avoid conflict. You get to be without constantly managing their perception of you. 3. Boundaries are not betrayal. In authentic relationships, boundaries are respected, not resented. When you say, I need time, it's honored. When you say, I'm not comfortable with that, it's received, not debated. The relationship breathes because it's not built on pressure, but presence. The more you become aligned with your inner truth, the more you outgrow people who only liked the version of you that served them. And that's okay. Carl Jung reminded us that the process of individuation of becoming whole requires us to face the shadows, drop the masks, and integrate who we truly are. And sometimes, the moment you start becoming whole is the moment others stop recognizing you. They say, you've changed. What they really mean is, you're no longer playing the part I assigned to you. But growth isn't betrayal. Authenticity isn't rebellion. It's just the natural evolution of someone who's no longer willing to be defined by a false role. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The farther you step back, the clearer people's intentions become. Some chase you not out of care, but out of control. Some guilt trip you not out of love, but because your independence threatens their narrative. Some go silent, not because they're hurt, but because your boundaries broke their illusion of superiority. And you start to realize many relationships only functioned because you never challenged them. You were the glue. You were the peacekeeper. You were the one who adapted, accommodated, and absorbed. But the moment you stop doing that, the bond dissolves. Not because it was deep, but because it was never mutual. That's not your loss. That's your freedom. So what does withdrawal teach you? It teaches you the power of observation. That the way people react when you no longer serve them is the truest test of who they are. It shows you who only loved you when you were easy to handle, who respected your heart even when it didn't benefit them, who remained kind even when you stopped being convenient. And most of all, it teaches you to stop fearing loss, because the people who fall away when you stop overgiving were never aligned with your real self. They were aligned with your silence, your suppression, your availability, not with your soul. And when they disappear, you don't lose connection. You lose illusion. So what do you gain when the mask falls? You gain peace, because you're no longer performing. Clarity, because you see people for who they really are. Power, because you realize that proximity is not love. Presence is. You begin to value solitude over shallow company, truth over politeness, depth over convenience, and connection over control. And from that place, you start building relationships that can breathe, where you can say, I need space and still feel held, where you can say, I disagree and still feel loved, where you don't have to shrink to be safe. This is where the real begins. So the next time someone's tone changes when you step back, the next time someone accuses you of being different because you stopped making them comfortable, the next time someone calls your silence a betrayal, just remember, you're not abandoning anyone. You're just choosing not to abandon yourself anymore. Because the farther you step back, the more clearly you'll see who truly loved you, and who only loved your reflection and the truth. The people who never needed your mask are the only ones who are worthy of your authenticity.